let's get to Deshaun Watson, Rob. And we all know that Deshaun Watson reportedly, because he hasn't come out and said anything, but reportedly, according to people close to him.
But you got to admit, there's too much going on. And if he really wanted to clear the air, he could have said, none of this is true.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like he could have.
I think you're
That's
right.
Why there's something
I believe
to
the
it.
reports. Yeah, right. I believe the reports. But that he's unhappy. And he's unhappy with the direction of the franchise. Some of the moves that have been made. Like, he wanted to be consulted on the GM hire. And they hired Nick Caserio without talking to him. Now, the owner told him he would talk to him. He told Deshaun, I'm going to talk to you before we make a hire, and never did.
People change their minds.
And
Things
that's
happen.
upset. Okay, that's upset Deshaun. And he's talking, at least the reports are that he may ask for a trade. So there, obviously everybody around the NFL is talking about it, Rob. And an anonymous NFL executive is quoted as saying this in The Athletic. He thinks that Deshaun Watson, Rob, is bringing the NBA's player empowerment movement to the NFL. Here's what he says. Watson represents an example of player empowerment like we see in the NBA because he has enough money in the bank. He can say, no, you are going to do it the way I want to do it, or else you do not have me. This is presuming he believes the DeAndre Hopkins trade and other moves were irrational, and the GM was hired in a ridiculous way. I think that's out of the quote. So the quote is that ends with, no, you are going to do it the way I want to do it, or else you won't have me. Rob, you are not a fan of player empowerment.
No,
at least to the degree that it's happened.
Yeah, that's not.
So explain
first
it.
Of all,
and, give your thoughts.
I want to say that I'm all about free agency. You can go wherever you want. Does that mean I like it? No. So they're not breaking the law. This is their contract. They can go if the top 5 NBA players want to go play on the same team and they get enjoyment out of it. I can't knock it. I'm telling you, I don't like it. That doesn't mean that they don't have the right to do it. They're not doing anything illegal. In this case, I just think Deshaun Watson's energy is misplaced. Football is just a total different animal. When you're talking about moving 1 or 2 players in the NBA or what the Nets just did by trading for Harden, Chris, that changes. That's a game changer. In the NFL, there's 2 sides of the ball. There's 11 players. There's all kinds of other stuff. You can't tell me. And then to say he wants to be involved in the hiring of a GM and a coach, I don't see that. And if I'm an owner, I'm not interested in a player and all that. He doesn't know. If I were to quiz him right now and ask him, give me the top 10 guys out there for GM jobs, I'm sure he wouldn't have named the guy who just got the job in Detroit. I'm almost guaranteeing you that name wouldn't have come up. And that's my point, is that you can't do it unless you're well-versed. And I can't believe he knows who should be a GM and who should be a coach compared to, being a quarterback. And if they want to come in and ask you, Chris, hey, what do you think of Eric Bieniemy or whatever? What have you heard around the league or whatever? And they bring in him and J.J. Watt. I respect that. That's fine. But they don't owe him that. They owe him to pay him his money to come play quarterback. And if it was really, really that important to him, he should have got it in writing. If it really was like I won't resign here unless I can be involved, then he had the right to be upset if that's what it was, Chris, and it was in his contract that he was supposed to be involved. But other than that, I don't think a team owes any player the right for them to tell them what their business is and how they do their business and who they should hire. Should they get input or ask if they want to? Yes, I'm not against that. What happens if Deshaun Watson is terrible the next 2 years, or the guy that he recommended to be coach is terrible, or the other players say, oh, yeah, that's Deshaun Watson's boy, the new coach, because that's the guy he wanted. What about the other players you alienate? It's not about Deshaun Watson not wanting to have some input, Chris. It's about, I think it's a bad road to go down in the NFL compared to the NBA. In the NBA, one or two players make a huge difference, and I could see why LeBron James or Kevin Durant would be involved in stuff like that. I do. There's only 5 guys on the court. Football is a different animal.
I also think, though, in NBA, only a few players are good enough for that privilege. It only
Right, not everybody, right.
And I'm talking about there are many superstars who aren't good enough for that privilege. Like LeBron James, yes, he's proven. He's made all types of input on rosters. He's kind of built teams. Let's keep it real. But they've won a championship. That's the difference. And LeBron, whether he wins the title or not, you know when you get him, you are a contender. You know that. And very few other players can say that. So if you're not going to automatically make me a contender, then your input will be somewhat limited. You won't get the input LeBron gets. I do think that this is Deshaun Watson being a young guy, watching the NBA. I do think he sees what the NBA players do. And I think he is saying, you know what, maybe I can get a little say. Now, I think you're going too far with it. I don't think he expects to be sitting in meetings while they interview a coach or as they're deciding what coach they're going to pick or GM. I don't think that's a good position for a player to be in. Even LeBron, when he does let it be known who he wants and, you know, that trades need to be made or something, he's not going in there with Rob Pelinka or in Cleveland sitting down with David Griffin in his office and the other executives saying, look, what do you guys think? How about this? He's not doing all that. His agent will let the team know what LeBron wants. That's it. LeBron ain't all up in there like that. And I think you shouldn't be, because if you're kind of like you're saying, players cannot be that attached to the coach. That's just not a good situation. What if Deshaun Watson let it be known, it was reported that he wants Eric Bieniemy for coach. Look, if that's the only offer Bieniemy gets, then obviously you got to take it. But if I'm Eric Bieniemy, I don't want everybody thinking as I come in the door, as I address the team at our first practice, our first meeting, that I'm Deshaun's boy. That can't work. He's got to be able to coach. The coach has to have that respect from the players, and he can't be viewed as any one player's guy. You're right. In the NBA, it's a little different because you have fewer players, more impact for one player. Right.
Chris,
but
it's totally different. Right.
But I think in reality, Rob, my opinion, what Deshaun wants is just run it by me. Not that I'm going to be able to veto it or whatever, but maybe ask my opinion, because I've seen you guys making bad moves. You let Jadeveon Clowney go. You know, you let DeAndre Hopkins, my best receiver, go. Like, can you just let a brother know what you're thinking, and I can at least give you my opinion? I really feel like that's what he is thinking, more so than I'm going to pick the coach. I'm going to pick the GM.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, you're
think,
guessing.
Like you said, Rob, I think
you're
he'd be
guessing.
asinine.
I'm guessing.
I think he'd be asinine to think he's going to go in there and pick the coach and GM.
That's what. But to be that upset. Oh, I'm upset that they hired a GM. Or, you know, like I just okay.
But
and maybe
the story around that.
No,
I think I think some of his anger is legitimized by, you know, they picked the search committee, paid hundreds of thousands of dollars for him. Nick Caserio, who they hired from the Patriots, was not even in the top 5 for the search committee.
Doesn't matter.
They just picked him. Why'd you pay the search committee that much?
Because
to your point, Rob, you think these owners know?
No, that's
you
just,
think Cal McNair knows
but I think,
all,
I don't.
all these GMs?
I think it's hard for people. I remember when Matt Millen got hired in Detroit, Chris. You remember he was doing the games on Fox. Matt Millen sounded like a football god, like he invented football. I'm serious. Like he was the star. He was a star. I thought he was going to replace John Madden at one point. I mean, that's how good Matt Millen was about players and all this. He wowed the Ford family, had zero experience, He never worked one day in the front office. And Chris, arguably the worst general manager in the history of sports. Seriously, like the worst.
And I remember him. You're right, because he was on ESPN sometimes.
Am I right?
And
you remember?
Yeah, he was good. Yeah.
Very good. Matt won 4 Super Bowls as a player. He had everything, Chris. Charismatic, could talk the game, everything. And my point is, it's already hard. And then for a player to say that he wants in on the GM, maybe, Chris, on the coach, maybe, but a GM.
I think
you see what I'm saying?
Football at
coach,
most,
yes.
In football at most, they run it by you. Hey, Tom, we're thinking about hiring, Eric Bieniemy. What do you think? That's it. Don't mean you're going to be able to say yay or nay, go with him, and I'm going to take it as gospel. But I think that's about the most you can give a guy in football.
I
really do.
I mean, I don't understand, and maybe it's over the top, Chris, what's being reported and how mad he is and this and that. I don't know. And I'm not against people having say. I just think that, is he well-versed enough to give a good enough opinion about the hiring of someone? That's all I'm saying. Does he know who the players are?
There's no way.
Right?
There's no way. I don't think, again, that's why I don't think there's any way he's asking for that. I think he just wants to be, I think he would have liked the heads up that, hey, I think we're going to get rid of DeAndre. I think he'd have liked the heads up, because then he could have been, hold up, it's my best receiver. DeAndre does this, and that for us. If we don't have DeAndre, our running game's going to suffer. Our other receivers won't, they'll get more. I think that's what he'd like. Ultimately, they're going to make the decision, but I just, again, you're right. I'm guessing, you're guessing.
We're both guessing. All right.
But I can't imagine he thinks he's going to run, be hiring coaches and GMs. All right.